for joining us here tonight on your TV's Halton News. It's Thursday, April 16th, and I'm Jessica Kading. The region of Halton is now reporting 393 cases of confirmed and probable COVID-19 within the Halton region. That number includes fully recovered patients as well as those who are now unfortunately deceased. There are 5 long-term care home and retirement residents in the region with declared outbreaks. Joseph Brant Hospital is also still dealing with its outbreak. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau addressed the nation once again today, reminding us that we need to stay the course, continue to maintain physical distance from others, and utilize government financial programs to help get through these hard times. As Dr. Tam mentioned yesterday, there is room for some cautious optimism, though, as it seems the spread is slowing, but we do need to keep it moving in that direction. Burlington's MP and Federal Cabinet Minister Karina Gould commented on her efforts to flatten the curve, the government's emergency response benefit, as well as adjustments to the assistances being provided to businesses.
As Dr. Tam has mentioned, and as you note, we're seeing a slow in the curve in Canada. So that means that these extraordinary measures that we're taking are working. We want to continue to see this curve flattening. We're going to have to do it for a bit more time to make sure that we really do see this flattening and that we can, here in Canada, stamp out COVID. And so I really just want to thank everyone in our community and across the region and across the country who have been taking this so seriously, have been staying home and helping us protect and save the lives of Canadians. So this is good news, but it means that we have to keep doing it for a bit longer to make sure that we really do not just flatten the curve, but stamp it out completely.
And of course, the federal government has been doing a lot to help Canadians at home and also businesses. In fact, Justin Trudeau just made a new announcement today for businesses. Do you want to speak to that?
Absolutely. So the Prime Minister announced today an expansion of the eligibility for the Canada Emergency Business Account. So previously you had to have a minimum of a $50,000 payroll and a maximum of $1 million. He's extended that, or we've extended that as a government, to a minimum of a $20,000 payroll and a maximum of $1.5 million. So this will help to address some of the small and medium-sized companies that weren't able to access the CEBA, which provides up to a $40,000 loan to help them get through with some of their operational costs. And this is in addition to the wage subsidy that passed through Parliament over the weekend, unanimously through the House of Commons and through the Senate, that will provide a 75% wage subsidy for small and medium-sized businesses up to $58,500 per employee. And so these measures, along with the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, which the Prime Minister announced additional eligibility criteria for yesterday to make sure that we include Canadians who maybe have seen a reduction in hours or are only working one of their part-time jobs, it will allow Canadians now who earn up to $1,000 per month while collecting the CERB. It will extend the CERB to seasonal workers who have exhausted their EI regular benefits and are unable to undertake their usual seasonal work as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak, and it will extend the CERBs to workers who recently exhausted their EI benefits and are unable to find a job or return to work because of COVID-19. So, these 3 measures are really trying to address income and economic security for both individuals and businesses to get us through this crisis.
Further to the changes Minister Gould mentioned for small and medium-sized businesses, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also announced rent assistance for businesses and commercial property owners.
Businesses and commercial property owners are also facing specific challenges because of COVID-19, so we plan on introducing the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance. This program will provide support to help small businesses with their rent for the months of April, May, and June. To implement this program, we have to work with the provinces and territories as they govern rental relationships, and we hope to have more details to share very soon.
Justin Trudeau also acknowledges that the residents in our long-term care homes need to be protected. Provincially, Premier Doug Ford announced updates to the long-term care plan, which Health Minister Christine Elliot speaks to in this next clip.
That there is a problem in our long-term care homes, that there have been a number of outbreaks of COVID-19. This is a very vulnerable population, so we've heard several of the public health experts say that we need to bring an iron band around them. So what we're trying to do is further protect them, to make sure that we test all residents of long-term care homes where there has been an outbreak, and we're also going to conduct some testing in places where there have not been any outbreaks, so that we understand a little bit better about how it does advance. So we want to make sure that we can do more testing. We also want to make sure that we can bring in more people to work in long-term care homes, whether that's from home and community care sector or the hospital sector. We know that they need more assistance, and we need to make sure that we have the best education available for staff on the use of personal protective equipment. They are all now going to be required to wear surgical masks throughout their shifts. So we need to give them some more education on proper use of this, and also proper cleaning and other protocols.
That was our Health Minister Christine Elliot on the phone with our Muskoka anchor James Bowler, who also asked whether we have managed to avoid the surge of patients that were previously expected to have already hit our hospitals.
I think it's a little early to say that yet. We can't, this is not a time for any of us to sit back and become complacent, because we don't know what's around the corner. But I would say that some of the measures that were put into place very early on, restricting groups of people, asking people to stay home, making sure that, if you need to go out, just go out for food or medication. I think that has had an influence, but we're far from being through this yet.
Canada's supply chain needs to keep moving during the COVID-19 crisis, and CN Rail is part of the chain that keeps us all fed and goods moving. The Oakville Chamber of Commerce president held a Zoom webinar yesterday with Sean Finn, the Executive VP of Corporate Services and Chief Legal Officer of CN. Chamber President Drew Redden posed questions that were provided by Chamber members.
You talk about the challenge of staffing up at CN, but what are some of the other challenges that the railway industry and the supply chain network is facing at this time?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Drew. And you think about supply chain, we're one component. I told you before, we'll go from terminal to terminal. Pick a container, for example, arriving in Vancouver and Halifax. It comes off a ship, so you need the terminal operators at the port. You need the terminal operators to take the container from the ship right to hopefully the car, the train. The train then moves from Vancouver to, hopefully Brampton, for example. And Brampton has got to be taken off the train, put onto the ground or onto a chassis of a truck, and then delivered locally. So you can imagine there are 5 or 6 players which are part of the supply chain. And we often say you're only as strong as your weakest link. So in this case, you can imagine we're focused on making sure our employees are safe and healthy, but that must apply to everybody in the supply chain, because effectively if the port, cannot have the goods run through fluidly, if we don't have truck drivers at destination to move the goods to the last mile, then we have a big challenge. So to answer your question, we all have a vested interest, all of us as Canadians, to understand the supply chain and realize that, we have to make sure that it remains healthy, because we need it on a daily basis. I cannot repeat that, we have a tendency of forgetting that most of the goods you'll see in a grocery store or in a pharmacy arrived either by train to a terminal and then by truck to the last destination. So, we have to thank all the people who work in the railway, also the truckers, but also people who work in the ports. And that's important because, a supply chain can be affected by weather, by work disruptions that we had, as last fall. Blockades can affect, some cases, unfortunately, the supply chain. But, if we all work together, and I must say through this most recent pandemic, the members of the supply chain in Canada have all taken their role seriously, all understand the importance of getting goods to market, and be it truckers, terminal operators, or us. And I think we owe them a great thank you and also a great sign of gratitude, because they're coming to work in a safe and healthy environment, but they are leaving at home. Family members, elderly parents or kids aren't in school, and they're coming to work with a focus on doing their job safely, but they know at home things are not all normal.
You can watch the entire Zoom webinar on the Oakville Chamber's YouTube or Facebook page. Shifting the focus away from COVID-19 for a moment, a local Catholic high school in Milton is currently nameless after some controversy came to light about its namesake. Melissa Candelaria has this one.
It's a name the Halton Catholic District School Board took no time to erase. This high school here in Milton once bore the name of Jean Vanier, a name that has now been tainted with controversy the school board would like no part in. Results from an international investigation were released in February by L'Arche International, an organization Vanier co-founded, which helps people with developmental disabilities. The report found he had sexually abused 6 women in France between 1970 and 2005. These findings were a shock to the board, including Milton trustee Marvin Duarte.
I used to live right near JV in the past, and every time I drive by the school, it brings up some memories of the name. You know, it used to be JV is the way of life. That's the slogan of the school. And now if I go by the school and I say JV is the way of life, it doesn't make sense to me. Same thing with the parents, with the kids. That's not what we should be teaching our kids. Kids were very upset. We had the school counseling group in the school to talk to the kids and explain to them. Kids do understand now the period of time. And why have this doubt in our mind? We need to go to a school and be welcome, feel good about it.
The board decision to strike the name of Jean Vanier has a lot of support from parents and students, including former student Angelina Villiani, who graduated last year.
I think changing the name of the high school is definitely a step in the right direction, because just for the fact that for so many years we had tried to follow in his footsteps and see his values as our own. And really just finding out after that the horrible things he had done in the past. And yes, he had done some pretty amazing things in his lifetime, but we can't just look past that. So I think that changing the name definitely is the right thing to do.
The board passed the name change recommendation back in March, but before they can continue, it was also suggested the policy around naming schools be changed. Duarte says the policy committee met on Monday night to discuss this issue.
So the policy has a condition there that we could name a school with people who are very famous and people who have done a lot in the community and who have recently deceased. But we found that in this particular case, it has not really worked well. So it's unfortunate. We are really disappointed that it turned out this way. So we are in the mode of fixing the policy. So Trustee Carabella proposed that we remove the recently deceased or people with renowned people.
The policy recommendation will now be sent to the board for final approval at the end of April. As for a new name, Duarte says they are working on the next steps.
A committee has been struck, and we have not really had our first meeting because of the COVID situation right now. It was all planned. We were supposed to have a meeting, but it's delayed. But it's in the work. So we are working towards the process of names. And this time we will be very careful to make sure that history does not repeat itself.
So when life gets back to normal and social distancing restrictions have been lifted, students at this school will be coming back to a new name. Reporting for Halton News, I'm Melissa Candelaria.
We are all spending a lot more time at home than usual, and many of you are looking for things to help keep busy. After the break, a look at how to plant your own basil inside your home, plus our local weather forecast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Halton News. For those of you wanting to work on your green thumb or spice up your cooking routine with the freshest ingredients possible, the Royal Botanical Gardens has provided this segment on how to grow your own basil inside your home. Let's take a look.
Hi everyone, my name is Nadine from the RBG. Today I'm joining you from my kitchen with a bunch of seedlings that I've started a couple of weeks ago. So we're about 6 weeks away from our last frost date, which is about May 10th this year. 2 weeks ago I started some peppers and some tomatoes. And today I'm going to start a great companion plant for tomatoes, which not only tastes great together, but also can help each other grow, which is basil. So basil grows nice and close to the ground, helps to retain soil moisture while those tomatoes are growing nice and tall, and it can also help to repel pests and insects. One of the tomatoes that I've started is this cherry tomato. And if you look at the seed pack, it says high yield right there. So because I'm working with an urban garden, I'm trying to get lots of fruit in a small amount of space. Words like compact, high yield are really good ones to look for when you're picking your seed packs. So these might not be available to you, these types of trays, but these could be from fruit from the supermarket. So what I've done is I've put some pre-moistened soil into this old raspberry container from soil that I've moistened in this one here. And this is seedling starting soil, so it's pretty fluffy. And it's really important to read the back of our seed packs when we're starting seeds to give you those specific instructions of what the seed's actually like, how long they're going to take to germinate, etc. And these basil seeds want to be planted at about a 1/4 inch depth. So I've marked that off on this stake, and I'm going to draw those lines across the soil at that depth. And then I'm going to sprinkle some basil seeds into that line and very gently cover it up with soil. And then I can use my container top as a little miniature greenhouse for my seed starting, which I'll leave in the window. And hopefully in 10 days, if they're warm enough, I'll have some basil seeds germinated. So it's been about 12 days since we started the basil seedlings. And I wanted to give you an update on how they're doing. So this container's been sitting in an east-facing window in my house. It's not getting quite as much sunlight as I would like. We also keep it a little bit cooler in the house to save energy, but you'll see that about half of those seeds we started have actually come up and emerged out of the soil. Now the leaves that we're seeing now, these are the seed leaves of this plant. So these are the first leaves to emerge. These are the leaves that exist inside the seed that are actually helping to give that first boost of photosynthesis when they come out of the ground. Inside of there are some teeny tiny true basil leaves that are just starting to form. They're really quite adorable. Now basil is quite a tender plant, meaning that it really needs the warmth, the heat of the sun for it to grow. It does not like the cold. So it's still going to be about 6 weeks before this is ready to go outside. And in 4 weeks, in fact, I'll start getting this plant ready by putting it outside in a shady spot for about an hour each day and then slowly building up its tolerance to the sun's heat. Same with these tomatoes that I started. So these ones I recently potted up into these 2 by 2 inch pots, and they started in cells like this, 1 by 1 inch pots. Now here's a good tip. As we noticed with the basil, only about half those seeds came up. So in these tomato cells, and this is a great thing to do with all of your plants, is to put 2 seeds in every time you're planting. This doubles the chances of your plant actually growing because you're doubling the chances that one of those seeds is going to germinate. So I'll probably cut out this one at the soil surface and let this one keep growing. So because this basil is still pretty young, pretty sensitive, I'm going to let it continue to mature in this container. If you're planning to pot up tomatoes in your house and you don't have containers like this, yogurt containers make a great potting up pot as well. Just make sure to drill some holes in the bottom so that the water can seep through. There's one more thing I'm going to add to this mix. I'm waiting for the seeds to arrive in the mail, and that is marigolds. So marigolds make a great addition to this combination of plants. They attract pollinators. They also deter insects as well. So another great companion plant to add to the garden. Okay, happy planting everybody. Take care.
And for those of you looking to get your outdoor gardens ready, let's take a look at how the weather is shaping up in the Halton region. Currently looking at our 5-day outlook, up to 6 degrees tomorrow. That comes with a slight chance of showers. Full sun on Saturday, up to 11 degrees, and we're back to those double-digit numbers. We are looking at a 60% chance of rainfall on Sunday, but then full sun once again. Those clouds will clear out for Monday, but return again on Tuesday, still with a mix of sun and cloud though, and 9 degrees as our high. Stock results were mixed today, with continued uncertainty related to COVID-19. Let's take a look. We do need to take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. You're watching Halton News. It's Thursday, April 16th, and I'm Jessica Kading. The Burlington Food Bank continues to make daily deliveries to those who need assistance, and the executive director wants to remind us that just because you've never needed a food bank before doesn't mean that you can't utilize their services to help you get through this hump.
Hi, this is Robyn Bailey, the Executive Director of the Burlington Food Bank again. We just want to remind people that though you're starting to get your CERB payments and they maybe help out a little bit, sometimes it's tough to budget with those. And we want to remind you that we have lots of support here in Burlington, and we have enough food to be able to help those of you who maybe have never had to use a food bank. Just give us a call or send us a quick email at info@burlingtonfoodbank.ca, and we'll arrange to get food delivered to you. It'll include fresh produce, milk, eggs, bread, all that type of thing. So we really want to help you out with those costs, as well as getting it delivered to you. So trying to help you out that way. And then the other thing is we've had a number of people trying to do food drives and things for us in the community, which we really appreciate. But the biggest thing for you to do is to actually go to our website, register your event. It's really clear how to do that. And then that way we know about your food drive. So when people call us and ask us if you're legit, we can say you're legit. And the other big part of it is to remember to abide by all of the COVID-19 protocols to keep the food safe. And then secondly, financial donations are always the best route if possible, and you can just put that in your little letters that you're handing out, letting people know where they can donate. We really appreciate all that you guys are doing.
We'll be back with another edition of Halton News on Friday at 5:30. In the meantime, we do invite you to follow us at Your TV Halton on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at haltonnews@cogeco.com, and we also have our videos available on our website at yourtv.tv. For Halton News, I thank you so much for watching. I hope you tune in again tomorrow night. I'm Jessica Kading, and I hope you have a great, safe evening.